You may find yourself as a project engineer or as a project manager for an engineering firm and find that listening can be a very important skill. And in fact, it's probably the most important skill that we probably use as a communicator with our staff, with our clients, and with management. Have you ever found that somebody has told you something and you didn't understand and went off and did it anyway the way you thought they meant? Yes, listening is so important. And I'm going to give you a couple of different ideas on how to listen better and make sure you understand exactly what the objective is or what the problem is that the person telling you. So we're going to do that right now in this video, so hang on. By listening to what someone has to say, whether it's your team members, your clients, or even management, you minimize misunderstandings. You also get to the picture of exactly what it is that they're asking you to do for them, or what the problem really is. Listening is a very important skill. By listening, you can also reduce the time it takes to solve the problem. If you take what you think they said initially and go running off to solve the problem, only to come back to find out that you didn't hear the rest of what they had to say, and so the problem you solved is not the problem they asked for. Yes, listening to that individual or team is so important to understand the problem itself. Doing engineering, we're great problem solvers if we know what the problem is. Also, by listening to your team members, you can increase that commitment you can get from a team. You can increase their loyalty to you because they feel like you actually do care about their feelings, their concerns, that you listen to them. So often managers and leaders do not listen to the people that work for them, and they try to give them directions of what to do. But if you listen to your employees or your team members first before acting, you'll find that it establishes a lot of loyalty with them. Also, by listening to your team members, you build a more positive work environment where people, when they have a problem or an issue, they feel free to come and talk to you, and that you'll listen to them, and then you'll be able to come up together with a solution to the problem. That is why listening is so important. When an employee or staff member or a team member comes into your office with a problem, the first thing you want to do is to sit down, clear all abstractions, and then to listen to them. Hear what they have to say. The purpose of listening is to understand why they're there, why they're asking you these questions, understanding exactly what the problem is. Once you have listened to them and understand exactly what the problem is, then together you can work out a solution to the problem. If you don't listen to everything they have to say and try to understand what they're saying, another important reason to listen to what someone has to say to you all the way through to make sure you completely understand what they are saying is that it shows a sign of respect for them. That their concerns, their questions are important to you. That means I'm here to hear what you have to say. Tell me. I want to understand. I respect you. And so that is another important reason why you want to listen to what someone has to say. Don't run off and immediately pass judgment, and don't immediately go in and come up with solutions. You want to take the time to completely understand their point of view. That shows respect. And if you don't do that, if you quickly run off and start making decisions for them, not really concerned about what they have to say, it also shows disrespect to them. And somebody that feels disrespected, they're not going to be a happy employee or a team member. They're very quickly going to be a problem for you. Listening to them shows that respect, and they'll be a good employee because they know they can come to you to talk about whatever their ideas are, whatever their problems are, or whatever may be coming up in the team that they feel that you need to know about. Now, when they come into your office, one of the first things you want to do is get rid of all those distractions, and one of those is this guy, okay? You need to turn him off. Almost these cell phones all have what's called a vibrating button on where you can turn on vibrate. Just turn it on the side, turn it off basically. So while you're in the meeting, you don't have any distractions. Any phone calls are coming in, they'll just go to a message on your phone, and you can always call that person back later. So if somebody's coming to you in your office and wants to talk to you about something, the best thing to do is take this phone out and turn it off or put it on vibrate. Also, you want to take any other distractions that you may have, any kind of things like radios are going on. Sometimes people have walkie-talkies and things or something of that nature, radios to the field where they can hear people talking out there. You want to turn those off. Radios that are actually with music. If you got anything like a monitors playing in the background with some sort of work-related item on it or something, you want to turn those off or at least put it on a screen that's not changing or anything. All those distractions, you want to put them away. Even the stuff on your table, you want to clear your table off. I know a lot of people say that a cluttered desk is a busy person, is a sign of a busy person. Not necessarily true, but a cleared off desk shows that you're not distracted by multiple other items that are coming up. So clear off that desk. Another thing that you want to do is also make sure that you don't take any meetings. Anybody come in the door, go ahead and close the door behind you. So that way in the room, it's quiet and it's just you and them. And they kind of get the feeling that no one else is going to hear the conversation and that it's only between you and either one person or one or two other people that's come to talk to you. So that's getting rid of those distractions. It's the first thing you want to do when you're trying to listen to somebody. The second thing you want to do is to make sure you have enough time cleared on your calendar to listen to this person. I don't know how many times I've tried to talk to a manager or something like that when I was working within a corporation, and they tell me, well, I got about 2 minutes here, so let's make this quick. Well, I know that the subject I'm going to be talking to is probably going to take 10, 15 minutes just to even describe my problem that I have. So I'm going to go in there, try to rattle it off very quickly, and probably miss half of whatever I'm want it to say, and I don't get the point across clearly. So you don't do that, okay? When you're sitting down and listening to somebody say, look, I've cleared off my calendar. Well, I have no meetings or anybody coming in for the next 30 minutes. So this is our time. Go ahead and let's discuss whatever it is. If we can get it up quicker than that, great. If not, we got up to 30 minutes. So that's the way to clear off your calendar for somebody. It shows respect to them. Another thing that you want to do if you're listening, it's not setting in your mind up here and say, okay, this person just say that that he's having a problem with a machine, that it is slow, is constantly breaking down. And so in your mind, you're saying, well, we already have a part on order, and it's going to be here really quickly, and I can shut this conversation down right now. No, that's not the way to do it. You want to go ahead and listen to what they have to say. The machine's causing problems, it's constantly breaking down, or I don't really understand exactly how to solve this problem, or I have a problem with another employee that's in the team, or another team member is in the team. You want to hear all the story before you start giving the solutions to them right off or trying to close off the conversation. Don't think about what you're going to say next. Instead, think about what they're saying, trying to understand what they are saying. That's what's important while you're listening, is to try to understand what the problem is. Another thing you're doing while you're in that meeting with that individual and you're listening to them is that you don't want to finish their statements. You don't want to go ahead and give them solutions before they even finished what they have to say. It's wrong, okay? You never try to finish another person's sentence. Just let them go ahead and speak out what they want to say, and then once they finish saying whatever the problem may be or the issue is, you can then repeat it for them and making sure that you understand what they've just said. And if you didn't get it correctly, they'll be more than willing to kind of like say, no, that's not exactly what I meant. This is what I meant. And so never try to finish their sentence. Let them finish and then continue on with the conversation. Another, kind of in the same line, you may find someone comes in the office and they're kind of unhappy with the way you're doing something, or they may be unhappy with another team member, the way they're doing something, or they may not like a client or don't understand how clients working with us, even though you are in total disagreement with them, that way they see you is not the way you are, or way this other team member is not the way that team member is, or they're not that kind of person, or this client is not that way. They don't understand the big picture necessarily, and so you don't want to argue with them. The first thing, like I said before, is just let them talk. Let them talk all the way through. Let them get it out, what it is they have to say. And then afterwards, then you can kind of come back together and say, okay, I see that you don't like the way I do this or that. This is why I do this. Or how would you recommend me to do it otherwise? Maybe there's another way you would like to see me do this. Okay? And that method may not work. So, well, I've tried that in the past. You may remember, and it didn't work so well. So I looked at a different way. Do you know maybe another way I could do this? So you're going to that understanding point. You're not trying to tell them any conclusions. You're trying to work together, and that together we come up with a solution. That's the way they buy the solution. Then they do not buy the solution necessarily if it's your solution and not theirs. And finally, sometimes somebody comes to you with a problem or an issue or something that they would like to be looked at that can't be solved right now. That you and I, we can't solve this problem right now. Let me look into it, and maybe we can get into another meeting later after I got some more information from someone else, or once I know a little bit more about this subject, we can come back together and talk about this a little bit more. This happens quite often, especially in engineering design work. You may find that, let's say, a sewer line that you're going to have to cross over the sewer line, but you don't necessarily know the depth of it, of the line, the main that's in the street. And so you need to go out and have a survey done to get the inverts of the two manholes either side of the crossing point. And from that, then you can determine the depth of the sewer main. It's a simple problem, but it's one that you can't solve right now until a surveyor goes out, drops his rod into the manhole, and then comes back with the numbers so that we can then figure out the depth. Or it could be a line that doesn't really have any manholes, like a water line. Then you're going to have to pothole the street, have a machine come out, dig a hole down to the pipe, and that gives you the elevation. So, and then once you have the information, then you can get back into a meeting, make sure that the pipe that you want to cross over is got adequate distance vertically, and then you're good to go. If it doesn't, then you got to look for alternatives and other methods to put that line crossing the other existing main. We have these issues in all kinds of engineering, even in software for writing codes. There could always be an issue with another piece of software that this doesn't read that software, or it doesn't have the access that's needed to get in to read their software. It could also be in geotechnical engineering. It could be in chemical engineering, mechanical engineering. Everybody has these issues that you can't solve the problem right now, and that you have to go get additional information in order to do that. So be aware of that. Not every problem can be solved in one meeting. So what are some tips that we can give you on how to listen better to someone who come into your office? Well, let's take a look at one tip right off. And we kind of already mentioned this already. And that tip is you should have a goal. Whenever someone comes in to talk to you about an issue or a problem that they may be having, you need to have a goal. And that goal is, I want to understand what the problem is, what the issue is. Why is you coming to see me, okay? I want to understand. It is not my goal to have a solution. It's a goal of understanding. And probably the best way to do this is just put a piece of paper out in front of you or on your desk that you can look down to every once in a while and say, my goal is to understand. Understand. And that's it. So don't pass any judgments of what they have to say. Don't come up with any conclusions, any strategies. Understand. That's the point of listening, is to understand why they are there. Why are they talking to you about this particular problem? The second tip that we already mentioned is to make sure you clear the desk of all distractions, including that phone, including any computer things going on in the background, software running, any noise going on, any meetings that you may have. Clear all that distractions away. That this time is your time. You came to talk to me. I'm clearing my calendar just for you. I'm showing that respect to you, that I want to listen and I want to understand exactly what it is that you have to say. And the next tip is that you give your total attention to what they have to say. You want to listen to them. You want to maintain contact with them. Your eyes, contact it with them at all times. I'm listening. I'm looking directly at you. Please tell me what it is that you have to say. And quite often what I do when someone comes in the office, I sit forward in my chair, just pretty much like what I'm doing right now. I sit forward, I put my eyes on that individual, right into their eyes, and I'm listening very intently on what they have to say. Sometimes people don't feel comfortable with that, having direct eye contact. But most times people do. They understand that you're talking and you're listening to them. And that while they're talking to you, they are also looking at your eyes. And so it's very, very important to listen to what they have to say. And the last thing is to make sure you show that you are listening. And it's like I already said, you want to lean forward in the chair, kind of up close to the table, kind of like what I'm doing right now. You want to make sure that when they're talking, that every once in a while you're going to say, yes, I understand. Just a couple of little words. Yes. Okay. All right. Simple words like that you're listening to what they have to say. And every once in a while, you may not understand something they just said, and you may have to ask them to clarify that one more time. And that's important because it's showing that you're listening to them. When you're showing that you're listening and you're asking that question, from what you just said, the problem with that machine is that it constantly breaks down, especially up in the front area where you feed the paper into it. Is that correct? And then that's paraphrasing everything they just said. That's the word that we use, is paraphrasing. But that person talking to you about the problem with that machine, he can then easily say, yes, it is the front part where we feed the paper into the machine, but it's also, as it comes out of the feeder and it goes into the next section of the machine, it jams. And so it's kind of in multiple locations. He just clarified what I paraphrased. So that's why you do that. It shows that you're listening, that you're hearing that what they're saying, that it's the front part of that machine, that you understand that part. And now they're telling you it's not just that part, but it's also right behind it with the next section where it feeds into the next section, it jams. Okay, you may not have got that the first time. So now you know there's two sections of the machine that's not working properly. If you had gone off and quickly go order the parts for the new front part of the machine, you didn't solve the problem. Because you get the new part, comes in, slap on the front part of that machine, and they feed the paper in, and it jams. If you had listened to everything he had to say in that meeting, you would have known about the jamming problem, and you could have that repaired also. And that would have saved a lot of time. So that's why we listen, and that's why we paraphrase as we do so. Make sure we understand everything that they're saying. You with me? You understand what I'm saying so far? How important listening is in our communication process as leaders of our teams, as engineers, as project managers, engineering managers, department heads, whatever you are. You got to listen to when someone's talking to you, and that's why we are going over this today. Now, a couple final thoughts on the tips here. Not everybody's a great speaker. Okay, I'm not a great speaker. Sometimes what rolls around in this head, when it comes out of my mouth, it isn't the same. Okay, and so a lot of times I got to think about it, go over it in my head a couple of times exactly how I want to say it. Other people that you may find and your team members, they're great on the computers and they do great things, but when it comes time to communicate with you verbally, they can't put two sentences together, and that's okay. As when you're listening to somebody, you're going to have to ask probably a few more questions and paraphrasing what they just said to make sure you clearly understand. And as that person, he will get it out. He will say exactly what he means eventually as you paraphrase through, and they'll get it get their point across. They know they also have a difficult time saying perhaps what they're meaning, especially when you're dealing with highly technical terms and technical items. Sometimes to explain exactly what's happening with that machine that's jamming up and not taking the paper in it, it's kind of hard to explain. And so you're going to have to, as the leader, as you listen very carefully, understand what he's trying to say. He may say that as I put the paper into it, all it does is crumble up, and it never comes out the other end. Well, in your mind, what does that mean? Well, he's got a feeder problem, and it jams up inside the machine. So that's a simple thing to understand, but it just shows that somebody will describe the problem quite differently than the way you would, and that's okay. That's why we paraphrase what they're saying. We always show respect to every member of our teams. We want to listen to what they have to say and never, ever criticize them for the way they say things or how they say things. So we're at fault for probably not being able to understand very clearly, but that individual is doing the best he can to explain what the problem is. And it's up to us to figure out why he is talking to us. We are trying to understand what he has to say. And finally, as a listening tip, it takes time to gain this particular skill, but it's reading body language. And body language is different for most people, and not everybody has the same body language. Somebody comes in and he's talking really fast, going right through it real quick, and getting down to the end of the paper. He may be very nervous. That's a body language. If a person is looking down all the time and won't look up at you, that may mean that he's scared or he's very nervous again. He's not willing to, he's not really comfortable being in your office, okay? And so maybe you may have to say, well, do you want to go to another location where you may feel more comfortable to talk about this? You want to go down to the coffee shop and we can go down there and talk or something like that. You may find somebody that has their hand and he's constantly doing this. Again, that's a sign of nervousness. And so, there's a lot of different types of body language that you need to watch for. Ways sometimes people cross their arms. Crossing their arms means they're not listening. And that's why we don't do that. When we're listening to them, we don't cross our arms. You want to leave your arms open. But when an individual crosses his arms, that means he's closed. He doesn't want to hear anything more you have to say. So that's a body language that you need to be able to read. And there's lots of types of body languages, and there's books on it that you can read. But most of it's common sense. And we see it every day when somebody's body language is reading differently from the way they're saying something. If they're saying, I really like it here, and I can't think of a better place I would work at, and I just love it here. I just love it here. You see, the body language doesn't match what they're saying. And that's why it's important to read their body language. So those are all tips and ideas about listening to people who come to talk to you. Remember, part of communication is listening. And that's why, many people have said, when I was growing up in my home, my father used to always say, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth. That means you should listen twice as much as you talk. There's a lot of wisdom in that. And that is what we should be doing as leaders of our teams, as project engineers, as project managers, engineering managers, department heads, whatever you are, as a leader of your team, you need to listen to the individual talking to you. Listen far more than trying to talk over them. And if you do that, you're going to be showing a lot of respect to them, and they're going to feel comfortable talking to you about their problems, their issues, their concerns, the problems they're having at work, the problems they're having with equipment, drawings, designs, all those different things. They'll be open to talk to you about it, and then you'll have a fluid running team that's happy and positive at all times. If you gotten value out of this video, please go ahead and go down below and hit that like button down there. Also, make sure you go ahead and hit subscribe to our channel. We're constantly coming up with new videos, and I'm looking forward to bringing out another video here in the next couple of days. Also, go ahead and hit that bell down there, because that's your notification bell. Every time we upload a new video, you'll be notified that we've done so. So please go ahead and hit that like button, that subscribe button, and the bell. Until next video, keep on improving your skills as an engineer, as a manager, as a department head, a leader of your team. Keep improving those skills. Go over to the side in our video here. Go over to that side of our video and click on the next video that's coming up, and watch that video, because we have more things that I know that would be beneficial to you as an engineer, as a manager. See you on the next video.